Greetings. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video on YouTube. Out to you because you're watching. Thank you. And to my Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, to my Core New Core, and to anyone interested in surviving as a Pilates instructor. And since I've been focusing on core new tension as a independent item of movement you can instruct in, the survival of whatever you're teaching in movement, say golf for instance, as a golf instructor, to the extent that you know about core new tension, it can add to the richness that already exists to the way you instruct. So this is my advertisement. I know I get told it should be at the end, and it should be. You've listened to me enough to know, I hope, that I'm selling the specific language on how to engage core new tension between your ears and your shoulders. And now if you can already cue that as an instructor, that's great, and you don't need what I'm selling. But if you're someone that really wants word for word instruction, as close to the way I give it over the course of my profession, that's what I'm selling. So send me an email, michaelmiller@hermit.com, HERMIT, hermit.com, and then we'll take it from there. So, I didn't go to Facebook Live yesterday after I finished our broadcast here because I felt I'd exhausted myself here, and I'm sure said too much, talked for too long. But if you're following along or broadcasting on your own as well, I'm letting you know that I find it difficult to broadcast live twice across two different channels, YouTube being a channel and Facebook being a channel. So number 2 in my list, if I were typing out my list for a Facebook Live broadcast, would be mind your own business. And under that word comes, in my outline comes imitation, and after that comes intimidation. So mind your own business. Twice recently, the lady that wrote to me and wanted me to expose the core and core new tension to the golf community, pointed to some other means of instruction about golf and how to play golf, and that some of what they were talking about made her think of me and want me to profess more of my view of things to the golf world. That's how I took it. And then was it this morning? Some body is sponsoring another body to talk about a company or a training facility that has the word spiral in it. And well, of course that makes me smile because it's a long time in coming for the rest of the body world community of movement, specifically Pilates, painfully so Pilates, but to recognize the existence of these spirals. See, I don't need, okay, so, but my point to you as a Pilates instructor is to mind your own business And to me that means know what you know and know what you're about. And don't think that anything you learn that's new is going to be so ultimately different than or better than what you're already doing. Because if it is, you're better off and you're often running with it. But minding your own business, see, in both cases, what I'm trying to share with you is, I went to the website of the place that was being referred to. And in both cases, they were very elaborate and impressive websites. One for this method of learning how to play golf, and one for Spiral Dynamics, the name of the company, right? Out of Zurich, my old stomping grounds. So you got to wonder to what extent or where that world of spiral is coming from. And to the extent that I encourage you to see behind the curtain and read between the lines and add two and two and direct your own thinking, right? Compare timelines to more fully understand the evolution of the culture. And that's an important thing that everyone has unique to themselves, is the time frame in which they come into the culture and what they do from there on in terms of their interaction with the culture. I'm talking about Pilates mostly here, but I think it could be any culture. So when you write to me on planes and say, oh, is this Cornu? And it's like, I don't know. It's a studio that has a name called Spiral Dynamics out of Zurich. And my curiosity only goes so far, because what's important to me is to mind my business. And my business is about sharing with you, as best I can, my point of view about Pilates for one, and about core tension for another. And so when you write to me and you say, hey, is this Cornu? It's like, well, what do you think? See? You know what you know already, to the extent that you've listened to me and you've got a sense of, literally, a sensation of core tension in your own body. And so in minding my own business, I also don't feel intimidated by what all there is out there that I don't know, and what other ways there are of looking out at the world. Okay? I'm at a point in my career as an instructor, but more so as a teacher here, because I'm asking you to think. In communicating to you and talking to you, it's an intellectual thing, and what I want to point out to you, if you're listening and you're learning about Cornu and Cornu tension, well, Cornu is what? Is my trademark, is what people call it. That's the Michael Miller trademark. And so I sell training materials based on that mark. For instance, the word-for-word instructions on how to create the sensation of Cornu tension between the ears and the shoulders. Right? Now, intimidation can happen for any reason, really. You can will your way into it, or you can just really feel it. But intimidation, it brings up the issue of inferiority or superiority, and I want to encourage in you the peace, right? The peace and the calm that I have in being able to mind my own business, because my own business is enough. And because my interpretation of and pointing to my identification of core new tension and my view, what I profess about that identification, is for me more important than anything else that's out there, no matter how intimidating it might be, or how good it might be, or how much of an intimidation of my own work it might be. Because, as I said to my inflamed student, to you, imitation is the greatest form, the most sincerest form of flattery. Isn't that how the quote goes? And it's inevitable. See, it's inevitable. The people that pioneered Pilates have long since freaked out at the numbers of new people proclaiming to do the same thing, without any recognition to the fact that the amount of time one takes at developing one's skill and capacity enters into a value consideration, right? So I try to sell an affiliation to this trademark to both act for you as defense and offense, as a shield and as a sword. Because why? If understanding what the difference is enough for you, that's fine. If you're looking for an affiliation or something to make a distinguishment between you and others, if they're not also affiliates, then you're making a distinction. Right? And in a way, to me, you're making an affiliation to the person that identified core new tension in the body, period. And if it's of value at all, it's just worth sharing, and having the sharing of it be enough, which it is. Because just in the 20 seconds I took to share the experience with someone who said, "Oh, I feel that," right? So your understanding is one level of confidence and authority, and whether or not you prefer to keep what you know under the hood and let it all remain mysterious, or to whatever extent you want to use, it's possible to associate yourself to the trademark, which identified and promoted the fact of the biology accomplishing the physics. No matter how many other people come next or in the time frame of things, and whatever intelligence they bring to it in terms of intellectuality, being aware of the dynamic and how to create it and how to use it to facilitate whatever movement you're after facilitating, whether it's the performance of Pilates or yoga or your golf swing, right? All of it. It doesn't matter. The core nu and core nu tension is about the biology accomplishing the physics on a very real, physical, scientific, it turns out, in many ways, but in the only way I care about in minding my business is identifying that oppositional rotation between axes is part of the way the body employs itself to move through space, to sense alignment, to distribute load. Right? That's my business. And number 3 in my list of things to talk about is the role of the scout in the wagon train. You know, when I was a kid in the 60s, when wagon train in black and white was one of the major paradigms of television. But the scout obviously rode ahead and scouted things out, and then reported back to what was out there. We're all part of the wagon train, and we are all in our own expression of ourselves as human beings, a scout for the rest of us, right? I prefer really being a scout that takes notes and sends the notes back to the wagon train, and this recording is it. Now, if on the wagon train or somewhere in the wagon train you notice what I've been reporting on for a while now, well, that's to your credit that you make the connection between the report and what you see happening before your eyes. Right? Now, if you want to participate in that, and how you want to participate in that, is a completely personal decision driven by your own passion and interest. Right? But knowing about core nu tension is my scouting report to you, and something that, as an instructor of anything, you can deliver value by making an impression on your students' imagination, that they can do this and be better off in their body, in the way they're engaged in their body. Right? And then number four, usually core nu tension is an appreciation for it, or a sensation of it, is usually developed at the extremities first, and then it filters back toward the core. The core is the hips. The core is a grip at the hips. So the core is a condition, and the condition is a grip. And if there is no real grip, there is no real control. Now you can control it all from a squeeze, but just embracing the result of the engagement of the biology, meaning realizing that it is possible to and beneficial to create a rotational grip at the hips, and that the deeper the grip is, the better the grip is, because it has more expansion and contraction capability, the range of the grip, right? We're talking about there at the hips. And so in terms of the number 4 and core new tension, the easiest avenue into this is ears to shoulders and getting a feeling off of that oppositional rotation. And now, you know, that's gone right by a whole lot of people in the course of my lifetime. And it's not like it, you know, makes some profound impact. But you at least are introducing them to the actual muscular necessity to engage the kind of tension we're talking about. And thereby empowering them to be more aligned between their ears and their shoulders, and therefore incur less stress from the load of their body, and less stress usually means less pain, or the avoidance of pain. And then, so, if you're a Pilates instructor, you know about having locked knees and pointed toes because that's word for word Joe's instruction for where the legs are almost all the time, or just that's a description of the condition of the leg. And if you take a very sensitive student or another teacher and put them in the position of, say, hundreds, but holding their head up so the head doesn't get heavy, you can do this on the caddy anywhere, really, just on the floor. But you get a person that's got their legs out, pointed toes with locked knees, and you tell them to feel the weight of their legs, usually right at the crease of their hips. You might make a tactile to say, listen to what's going on in here muscularly, the effort that you're making, holding your legs out there the way you're holding them. Right? And then I like to go 2 points each on the metatarsal of one foot, supporting from the big knuckle to the next knuckle, 2 fingers, both big knuckles, and have them unlock their knees, right? Pull their toes back enough, or not pull their toes back, but make a rotational endpoint of tension at the metatarsals. If you're really good, you can do that, and your toes can still look pointed. Okay. But to be pointed and not have an endpoint of tension at the metatarsals is to miss the point. Pun intended. So, putting a person in that position where they're engaged in the metatarsals and unlocked at the knees, holding their legs up, right? Take away your support so that they're holding the weight of their legs with an endpoint of tension at the metatarsals. Okay? So that's like the second feeling. And then you tell them, now here's what you want to notice, is what happens to your legs, or what does it feel like when you let go of that endpoint of tension at the metatarsals. The legs come down because there's more load and there's less engagement of musculature to support the load. Because the creation of tension from endpoint to endpoint creates the engagement that supports the load, right? You can say all this because you've heard it all before. And if you haven't, these are the words that I use to explain what's going on with engaging endpoints of tension in the body, whether it's at the metatarsals, whether it's at the metatarsals or the ankles, for that matter, or the knees. You can be locked kneed with pointed toes your whole life and be doing the Pilates just the way Joe instructed, which is a good idea, really. And only the things that make enough sense to go beyond what you already know, to give you more of what you've already gotten, is worth going to, in my opinion. Okay? So this awareness of uniform engagement through the legs by having an endpoint of tension at the metatarsals without locking the energy out at the knees, in my experience and the way I teach is that the assumption is that the load of the legs is not as heavy because the musculature is more uniformly distributed. And so those were my 4 things. I mean, just summing up on number 4 was, whether you come at it from ears to shoulders, like an immediate can teach you how to engage that, or a more subtle perhaps engagement at the metatarsals without locking the knee to feel how that works, can be, I think, more quickly achieved as a sensation than the one of getting ribs into hips and connecting shoulders to hips, core tension between the shoulders and the hips. My point being, over the last several broadcasts, that to the extent that you can introduce a sensation that people can identify, it lends validity to the possibility that the whole picture might be possible as well. All right, so in conclusion, for core to core, keep your target in mind. And when you draw targets like a circle, a point, and then an arrow leading into that point. Just when I'm thinking and I'm trying to establish what's my target, having a visual target helps me focus. I know, it comes with living this long. So in keeping target in mind, and remembering about mind your own business, nothing is going to change the way I teach, unless it does. But I've so embedded or so familiar with a particular point of view that what matters more to me is articulately sharing that point of view than being at a point where I'm open to anything new and interesting as though it's going to make that big of a difference in what I'm already so focused on. I'm open to what's new that's out there, and if it refutes or reinforces where I'm coming from, it will always give me a better clarity of my view. But the reason why I feel so much at peace, I guess, at seeing other imitations of what I may be imitating is really only a matter of time. And in that regard, I'm a matter of decades in where I've been coming from and what I've been pointing to. And, something new and flashy may come along and take that in a place and in a way that I never would or could. In some ways, that's up to you, right? Because to the extent that you're aware of the view and you allow it to influence you, or you use it to influence others by sharing it and empowering them, and not only their ability to find an experience in Pilates, but an immediate experience of alignment and engagement and core nutention. See? My note here, I'm saying, mind your own business and be calm about it all, is that nothing is going to change the way the biology accomplishes the physics. Nothing is going to change the way the biology accomplishes the physics. It's no accident, in my opinion, that our body engages in core nutention, but that's for another discussion. And then, enjoy and be at peace and at minding your own business. And part of that is know that your own business matters, and that to some extent what you spend time elsewhere and not on your own business is time spent away from your business. So I'm saying that I have an appreciation for what my business is, and to survive as an instructor, you want to be able to cue that. CUE or cue that. You want to be able to give instructions that people can follow. You want to be able to throw the balls so the dog can chase the ball. The same thing as being a Pilates instructor. It's instruction. It's always instruction. And then it's refinement of how you throw the ball to challenge the one chasing it. Right? How deeply in your cave can you take them into their own complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit, which ultimately has nothing to do with you. Right? It's very sad. All right. And so being able to cue that. So that's why, and so I'm ending where I started. Send me an email at michaelmiller@hermit.com and ask for my word-for-word instructions on core nutention, establishing core nutention between the ears and the shoulders. Right? If you already know how to do that, great. Then I would suggest you do the same thing I'm doing and offer to sell me your word-for-word cueing on that or on something else. I call those specific language techniques. And as instructors, we hone that ability over time and practice and trial and error. I want to say, show your support by participating in the paradigm. I'll make probably a little less than $20, and we will have established a means of exchanging value for value. Because life can't live forever. But while it does, there are necessities involved. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain. Add 2 and 2. Add 2 and 2. Direct your thinking. And no shrill whistle. I like a gong to end on. So first the gongs. And then the Geist.